Hi guys, welcome back. Again, I'm going to be doing another video on the Mark 23, this time on silent trigger upgrades. Where to put some rubber buffers inside, and it will make it even quieter when you're pulling the trigger. So this is just a broken one I've got lying around. As you can see, the front end snapped off. This was one of my old ones. So the tools you'll need is basically a small posi screwdriver. I think that is it. First, pop out the pin, which is here, and then there would be a screw which would go there. Obviously mine's not there because it's broke, it's snapped. I fell over and broke the gun in half. Then just lift out the whole mechanism, the whole lot will come out as one. So you've got these. You will have the two side bits that will fall out. Here we are. These are the two side bits that will fall out with it as well. Just take note, one of these has got a small groove in it, there. Now that one goes on this side of the mechanism, and what it does is when that goes forward, it doesn't hit the corner of that plastic there. So that's what that one's for, goes that side. This one hasn't got one. Just make note of that. Okay, so first thing, we need to take this screw out here, and we need to remove this screw back here. So I'm just going to whip them out quick. They are quite long. You can see, pretty long. And the same on the back one. And then you want to go pull it apart. To do this, you need to put your finger on there. This just stops everything flying about. So put your finger on there, lift gently, just keep lifting all the way around, and it will pop off. So put that to one side. Now, where you got your finger, there's a spring. I'm just try and lift this. There's a small spring that holds the trigger in place. You need to lift that and let it go over the top, just like that, and that takes the tension off. Now you can go ahead and remove the trigger. Just prise out these two arms just a little bit, and the trigger just pops out like that. Okay, so that can go to one side. Now what you're going to want to do is remove this screw, which is right here. That one. So if you want to do that, it will be quite tight. That one is a slightly smaller screw compared to the ones that you've took out. So just keep note of that as well. And go to one side. Now you want to start taking the hammer assembly out. So to do that, you want to take this part first, which is here. There is a very small spring under there, like a tension spring. Just make sure you don't lose it. Take note of which way it goes in. There it is. Put that to one side. Now you can remove the hammer. To do that, just lift it up. It's dead easy. Nothing can flick off. Just lift it up. Next, we need to remove this assembly, which is your knocker. It knocks the valve to release the gas. So we'll lift that. There is a spring on this as well. Keep note of which way that goes. There's a spring on that. Put that to one side. Now to get this arm out, because it's still trapped in there, you need to remove this small screw here. There. It's tiny, don't lose it. Then that whole body will just lift up there, look. So that whole section has come up. Just put that to one side. Now you've released that. Put that to one side with your other one. Now once you've stripped everything down, it's always a good idea to clean everything. Just absolutely clean it spotless, because you'll be surprised how much dirt gets inside the mechanism and everything. It just affects the performance, the pull of the trigger. It affects a lot of stuff. So to make sure you give all of that a really good clean. I'm not going to clean this because it's just a broken one that I'm using for a demonstration. So once you've got everything cleaned, everything's ready to go, there's a few places where you're going to put this rubber, and one of them is, if you put this together, it's right here on the arm, both sides. See that bit of yellow and that bit of yellow there? You're going to want to put it on both sides of that. Now, what I've used this on a lot of upgrades that I've done. I've done it for quite a few people now. Is I use old bookings. Just cut some sections off. Absolutely perfect. So that's what I use. So once you put those on, then parts that are done, they can go to one side. The next one, and it's up to you if you want to do this one, because it does reduce your FPS. Not by a lot, but it does reduce it a little bit. Is you could put a small piece of rubber on this section here. Just there. And what that does is when your hammer comes over, just get that in properly. So when your mechanism of your hammer comes over and you've pulled the trigger, it goes and it knocks onto that metal. If you put the rubber stopper on it, it buffers that. What I did to counteract the FPS loss is I shaved it down. So I've got a small Dremel and I ground that down there. Took about 1 millimetre of material away, and then I put the rubber on, and that's how you keep the FPS the same. Once you've done that, on the hammer assembly here, just on the hammer itself, you need to put a piece of rubber. So if you're looking at the hammer like that, you need to put a piece of rubber on here, just there. So I'll remove this piece here because I don't need it on there, and I'll show you. So that's where it was, just on there, look. There. Once you've done them, if you pick up your main body that houses everything, I put 2 little slips in here. So I put one in there and I put one in there. And what that does is when these arms come forward, that section here, it knocks onto these bits of rubber and it stops it hitting the plastic, so you don't get that sound neither. So what we've done, we've eliminated every part from touching another part. So in the end, it's just metal hitting rubber. There's no contact, metal on metal. There's no knocking or anything. It's incredible how much of a difference it actually makes. The sound is, you won't believe it. Give it a go. I'll show you how to reassemble it all now, just so we've got a quick version. Just bear me 1 second. Okay, so bear in mind that you've cleaned everything. Everything's clean and it's all ready to go now. The first part you need is this. This goes there. Just loose, just leave it in there loose. And then you want that section. That goes on there. Then that tiny screw. Reinstall the tiny screw into there. Just like that. Then you've got this section here. And that goes in there. Just like that. And then you need to hook over the spring there. So that hooks over onto that. Like that. And push it down. So that's working again. Now you can get your hammer, and your hammer is dead simple. It just slots on like that. There is a groove on that. It needs to sit in there, just where that spring is. So if you put it like that, it won't work. It's got to come round, right round like that. Then it's working. This is your next section. It's got that small spring on. And that sits in there. Just make sure that spring hooks around the plastic. So that spring sits just inside there. Now that piece of rubber that I was telling you about earlier that goes on there, goes on there, it stops the noise of this hammer. So you can hear that click, it stops that click. Believe it or not, that's actually quite loud. It stops that. Like that. Now you want to take your next arm and fit that together with your smaller of the 3 screws. So make sure that's nice and tight. Make sure they're lined up like that. It's always a good idea as well, is I put a bit of lubricant on here and here, because that's where this rubs against there. So just put a bit of, again, just put a bit of silicone oil or something like that. So next is the trigger. This is dead simple. The fatter of the 2 pins sits in the plastic. The smaller of the 2 pins sits on those 2 arms. So it'll be like that. Oh, that's just popped out. Second, I'll just put that back in. Like that. Okay, so then you've got that spring again, that's just over the arm. You need to tuck that in. So just tuck it back under the arm like that, and that just rests like that. So now we put this cover back on. There's a locator there, and it sits inside. You'll see where that goes, like that. Now when you've put this together, it's very important, you just pull the trigger a bit and it releases it all to go back in. You'll hear it click when I pull it. Hear it? That's all gone back in place. Reinsert your 2 screws. Got one going there. One going there. Like that. Don't over tighten them. And it's all working, and it'll be a lot quieter than what it was. Remember, these 2 small arms, the one with the cutout goes on the left side and the other one goes on the right, just like that. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. If there's anything you want to see, or you want to know how to do anything, or you're unsure, or you want to make something better, just drop me a message and I'll try and help and post a video the best I can. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.